Well, they were bound to come calling eventually, weren't they? But Espanyol are Barcelona's third club these days. We are firmly entrenched as the second club in the city. We wouldn't even dream of saying yes, would we? Of course we haven't, and besides, to attend an interview would require us to leave these plush surroundings. That's right, we've brought the boys away for a few days. They were starting to look a little bit jaded, so we've brought them on a no-expense spared, two-star we're not made of money trip to this little resort for a little bit of R&R. Assistant manager Scott is currently taking them through a revitalising Pilates session, and then later on they'll be getting some mountain air as fitness coach Jackie takes them on a hike. But whilst the boys are busy in that Pilates session, let's just update you on our La Liga points tally competition that we started earlier on in the season. We had a range of guesses from a rather bleak 20 points all the way up to a triumphant 53-point guess. I think we should probably show you the league table so that you can see where exactly we are and how many points we've amassed. And so to that table, and it's pretty pleasing reading at the moment. We're exactly mid-table, 10th place, 33 points. We've won 9 games this campaign. Granted, we have lost 10, but for a first season at this level, it's going pretty well. It's a 38-game campaign, so we've got 13 games to go. We're looking in reasonable shape. I don't think we're really looking up the table, but we're not looking too nervously down it either. We're 7 points away from 6th place Betis, but we are a pleasing 13 points ahead of Malaga down in that last drop zone place. So we're looking pretty healthy. We've played a fair few games since we last saw you, but many of them were in the Copa del Rey. So we lost to Barcelona 3-0 in that last episode. Since then, form has been okay. Every time we've had a couple of defeats, we've picked ourselves back up and returned ourselves to winning ways. We've also had a couple of really good victories in that time as well. So we followed up the Barcelona result with a 0-0 draw against Osasuna and then a 2-2 draw against Villarreal. We probably could have done a little bit better in this game. Villarreal are a tough side. We gave them a bit of a head start, to be honest, but we did pretty well eventually then. Another 2-2 draw, this time with Levante. This time it was a disappointing one, to be honest. We looked like we were good for a win in this game before we gave Levante 2 pretty soft goals. We then followed that up with our worst result of the season. Sporting Gijón were bottom of the table. We bounced into this with hopes of getting a win to force us back into mid-table. We got walloped. I think I pressed a little bit too hard for the result, and we ended up getting countered on. We then lost 3-1 to Valencia, and I was starting to be a little bit concerned. We were starting to look quite leaky at the back. We tightened things up a little bit. A 1-0 win against Betis was a great result, given how high they are in the table. Before another defeat, this time was against Athletic Bilbao. We didn't look great in this game, but we've bounced back with 2 absolutely top results. The first, a 2-1 victory over Atletico Madrid in their stadium. I know they've shaded the match stats in terms of the shots, but when you have a look at the XGs, we're not far behind them. Granted, ours is propped up by a penalty, but we were pretty good and we were 2-0 up before Rue de Pool managed to get them back into the game. We were clinging on at the end, which is where they started to bump up their XG a little bit, but we played pretty well. And then in our next game, I think we probably played better than we have in any fixture this season. We've played Celta Vigo away again, and we've put 4 past them. We had an XG of over 2. We restricted them to just 5 shots on target. We had goals from Cordoba and assists from Cordoba, and this young man is starting to play pretty well, but we're worried that we can't get him to commit to a new contract. There's no clubs sniffing around at the moment, and I think it's only a matter of time considering how well he's played. Alongside all of those league fixtures, it looked like we might be making some progress in the Copa del Rey. We needed a nice victory over a lower league side just to help get this run of draws over with. But then we managed to win on penalties against Racing Santander and penalties against Betis before our luck run out. We were drawn against Barcelona. We played much better in this game than we did against Barcelona in the league, but ultimately we were defeated once more And Barcelona didn't put all of their stars out in this game. On 20 minutes, we started to get excited when Mbula had a goal disallowed, but they managed to score after the break, and the tie was pretty much over. But look who was playing well in that central midfield spot again. It is young Cordoba. He is the man, and he's really doing some good things for us at the moment. But before we show you young Cordoba and the progress that he's making, we've been having some success in the boardroom as well. In the background, the new stadium is being built. It should be completed in time for the start of next season, but we've also got more updates going on with the club's facilities. During pre-season, we managed to convince the board to upgrade not just the training facilities, but the youth facilities as well. On completion of those works, we let a couple more weeks elapse before we went back into the boardroom and asked whether they consider doing yet further work on them, and they've agreed should be done around April time, so it means that our facilities are gradually starting to improve. They're still not great. We've got average training facilities, average youth facilities, both about to be upgraded, and we've got adequate academy coaching and adequate youth recruitment as well. We're going to have to go up a couple more levels in all areas in order to kick this club onto the next level, because it's becoming increasingly difficult to find loan players and free transfers that are going to improve the side. So I'm thinking developing our own youngsters is going to be pretty important in this next slice of the challenge. However, that's for another day. Let's show you how our players have been doing recently, starting with that young man Cordoba. The young Cordoba is starting to turn in some pretty good performances now. He's got 3 goals for the season. We're playing him in a central midfield role with an attack duty, and he's been bursting forward, and on top of his 3 goals, he's managed to get himself 9 assists. He's performing pretty well in training as well. The only trouble is, he thinks he's a bit better than us now and won't sign a new contract. We'll revisit that during the pre-season. We could do with getting him tied down because his release clause is just £8 million. We've got other players that have been playing well recently. We have tweaked the system a little bit, changing our shadow striker to a second forward. We've also made some changes in our midfield 3, bringing in a brace of Carrileros, because I found we were getting outnumbered on the flanks a little bit, playing this rather narrow formation. So in order to offer some protection to our fullbacks, we now have Milanese and Diego Rosa both playing as Carrileros, just trying to come out into these wide areas and help shut some play down. Milanese in particular has been doing pretty well at that. He's pretty hard working. He doesn't mind getting around the park, but he's also got some player traits that means that he will get forward from midfield as well, as will Diego Rosa over on the other side. Rosa's not putting in quite as good performances. Maybe that's because I'm playing him as a right footer over on the left. Maybe that's not ideal for when he's going out there and making challenges, but he's performing a lot better as a Carrilero as he was in other positions earlier in the season, and he's also got player traits that encourage him to get forward. But in order to offer a little bit of protection to the side, in front of our back 4, rather than playing Stein Spearings, who we were utilising as a deep line playmaker and his tackling was only 7, well, instead we've brought somebody a little bit more robust in front of the back 4. Antonio Pacheco played a decent amount of football for us last season, but I'd not given him a look in this season. I didn't really think he was going to feature as part of our plans, but he's a decent tackler. He's not got the worst vision for a player playing just in front of the back 4, but he's quite determined, his anticipation's pretty reasonable, and he's quite good in the air as well. So playing as a half-back, he's just dropping in alongside Ndaba and Ikechukwu to offer us a little bit more steel in front of the back 4. It's a position we might want to upgrade in the summer if we stick with this formation, but things have been going pretty well playing this kind of lineup. It's going to be a tough game for us today. We're in action against Cadiz. They are just below us in the table. They're going to go ahead of us if they were to beat us. They were a lot higher in the table earlier on in the season, and they've just slipped away a little bit. A win for us could launch us up onto 36 points, and we would be looking almost safe from relegation for another year. A defeat, and we're going to be looking slightly lower down the table for the next few fixtures. Let's send the boys out there, see if the rest has done them good, see if we can get a win against Cadiz. So as we approach kickoff, we've got one other bit of news to update you on, and that's in goal. Old Barossi between the sticks has put in considerably better performances this season than he was able to do in the Segunda last season, and Roma started showing an interest in him. So we've decided to offer him a new contract. I'm not saying that he's definitely our long-term goalkeeper plan, but he's performing much better in training. He's still only 26. He's been making some vital stops, and we've not had a lot of luck finding a good replacement for him. So we'd offered him a new 4-year deal just to tie him down to the club with a much higher minimum fee release clause. There might still be some interest in him during the summer, but hopefully the new contract will mean that he is committed to us at least for the medium term. And it's going to be important to keep our better players at the club because we are struggling to find better. The scouts are scouring the globe. We can scout South America fully now, and we've got scouts all over Europe, but not yet have we been able to find players that we've identified as firm targets for next season. We'll see how we go. I think another key for next season is going to be getting Ikechukwu back in on loan. I think without him, our defence is going to look pretty vulnerable. It looks fairly vulnerable quite often, even with him in it. Take him out of that defence, and I think we're going to struggle. But we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. That's all plans for the summer. We need to make sure that we are safe and in this division first. And to that end, our mate Ikechukwu is on the ball. You can see how Pacheco just drops in between those two players, almost making a back three playing that half-back role. Over on the right, you'll see we've got Simo in for the team today because Rosanas has been injured, and it's led to an early chance for us. I think the refs having a look at it to see whether that was offside. We've been scoring a few goals of this ilk over the last month or so. It's been disallowed this time, but these balls from our midfielders have been met with glee by strikers running onto them, and Mbula was shade offside according to the lines there. Looked pretty tight to me. It was Milanese playing the through ball that time, but it's been a profitable source of goals for us. 40 minutes now. We're approaching half-time, having just had the one effort on goal during the entire half. I think it's fair to say that was a little bit disappointing, although we are up against a good side. I think we need to try and rouse these boys for a better second half performance than they've just put up in the first. So as we kick off the second half, we've just told the players in no uncertain terms that was a poor display that they've just put on, particularly by the front two, by the way. I know Mbula had a goal disallowed, but Rossi, who's coming back into the side, having been suspended following a sending off, well, he's currently putting up a 6.4 rating for us. And we've got Aziz on the bench, who has scored in recent games. So we could make a change there if Rossi doesn't pick up his performance. A point would not be the end of the world. That would put us on to 34 for the season. Not a bad total, but I would like to carry on the little mini run that we've created following a great win against Atleti and then following up with the win in the last game as well. We've been playing pretty decent football, but we've not shown it so far today. We've gone long again, and we've got the ball to Mbula again, and he's tucked a second one away. I don't think there's any chance of it being offside this time. Milanese now, back to Ikechukwu. So you can see how the centre-backs drift wide when Pacheco moves in between the two of them as well. Now we've got some support up from full-backs. We've got Mbula. There's balls on if he can find it. Cordoba, Rossa. We've got space over on the right if Cordoba can spot it. They've gone down the left instead. Here's Rossi, the man who might make way in a moment. Tell you what, Mbula's looking in the mood. I think the ref's going to check for offsides again. I thought he ran past his man to volley that home. I think we might have some joy with this. Let's see what the VAR review says. It has indeed been awarded. I thought he ghosted past his marker in order to volley this one home. So Rossi gets a ball over, and he has just peeled off the back stick, and he's volleyed another one home. 70 minutes. Time to make some changes, I think. We'll have a little think about who we're going to take off on a 6.3, even with that assist. Rossi's looking likely. We'll see if we can hang on for the final 20. Okay, 2 changes made. Rossi and Rosa both heading off. Stein Spearings comes on. We give it a go as a Carolero. Tackling a 7's not ideal for that role. He's pretty creative when he gets on the ball. And we've brought on young Aziz in place of Rossi to give us a little bit more pace and a bit more energy up front for the final 20 minutes. Maybe with 15 minutes to go, we might just change our tactics slightly. Maybe throw on a bit of time wasting at 80 minutes, and maybe at 75 we might just play the tempo down a bit, because we don't need to push for a goal. We're on 75 now. We're going to get into the instructions and the tempo is going to come down, and maybe early 80s, maybe 85. We throw on a bit of time wasting because we are not too proud to admit that every 3 points we're getting at this level is absolutely vital. At 85 minutes, I think we'll go for our last pair of fresh legs as well as throwing on that time wasting. Can we keep them at bay here? We're on 84 minutes and Emil Kraft has got the ball for them over on the right. Dennis now gets the ball back out to Kraft. It's going to be a chance for them. Rossi is there and looking solid. And we're into the highlights again and we've not been able to make our change. No, we're not quite on 85 minutes. We're pressing again and Bula has looked full of running today. One of his best performances. He's got the ball back. Aziz is in. And that's a pretty tame header. And I think we can make our final changes. So we could just go for some fresh legs, I think, in midfield. Let's get that old stager Lander on. In place of Cordoba. He's played well again. But we don't want to tire him out. He's still a young player. And the other thing we're going to do is just throw on a bit of time wasting on 90 minutes. I think we'll probably go full time wasting. Let's see if we can nerdle it through to that stage. We're on 88. We're on 89. We've got to the 90. Let's just pause it. Let's throw on the full time wasting and hope that they don't get a late goal. Clean sheets are useful for us as well. We've not got a good goal difference. I think we're sat on -10 because of some of the heavy defeats that we've faced. But today's game has done wonders. And Bula is in again. Was it Lander that sent him through? Was Lander rolling back the years? He could well have been. That's the benefit of bringing through Lander from the 4th division to the 3rd to the 2nd. The guy can just play from memory. He knows every inch of this pitch. And he is just like a Rolls Royce purring through the midfield. Every time you bring him on, the chat are not going to like this. The comment section are going to be outraged. I'm thinking about throwing Lander an extended deal, you know. He is just a vital cog to bring off the bench. And he's good in the hierarchy as well. No, people are not going to like that. He's a 4th division player. But I love the kid and I'm thinking about giving him a new deal with 3-0 up against Cadiz. Even if we concede here, I don't think there's any coming back for them. Ikechukwu tidies things up at the back for us. Hopefully we can see this game out without conceding. We've just got to keep them at bay for another few seconds and another 3 points is in the bag and we've done exactly that. We've got ourselves a pretty decent victory. We'll check out the old XG. As has been the case in previous games, I think you'll say we've been pretty efficient. The XG says we probably shouldn't have scored 1 and we've tucked 3 away. And Bula would have had 4 today if that goal hadn't been disallowed. He's starting to pick up a little bit and is giving us another option up top. So we've got about, 12 games left to go till the end of the season. I think the next one we come back for is going to be a biggie. It's going to be a certain beating. But we do have Real Madrid coming up in about 6 games' time away at the Bernabeu. I'm thinking that might be a tasty little tie to show you our boys in action in. We're going to leave you in 10th place on 36 points. We are just looking up to Betis 5 points ahead of us. And we are starting to dream a little bit. We're going to have a heck of an end to this season. You never know, by the time you come back to join us for that Madrid game, this could have turned on its head completely. Or we might still be pressing our way up the table in our first season in La Liga in Beg Borrow Steel.